Good evening from not from Swansea, from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. I've been in London for 3 weeks now, and I'm still thinking I'm in Swansea, but hey, we're here. We've got a great show planned for you guys today. We're going to be going into a little bit of last night's NXT, specifically one thing which happened, and then we're going to be talking about Dynamite's 4th year anniversary today. That's crazy. 4 years already of Dynamite. That's gone quick. It really, really has. But joining me on today's show, firstly, the co-host of the show, Clark Taylor. How are things today, Clark?
I'm doing well. I'm also not in Swansea personally, but I'm aware of that at least. What a fun week in wrestling this has been. It's been crazy. We've obviously got the big debut from WrestleDream, and we'll get into that later. And then we've got a crazy NXT last night. Honestly, I mean, me and Drizzy and Shad talked about it, and I'm excited to get into it again. Let's do it.
Absolutely. We got a couple of comments here. Firstly, from the man himself, Bobby Petito. Welcome to the show, Bobby.
Bobby.
And then Laurie Taylor as well. Welcome to the show. And yet introducing next, we have also from LA, Carter Crsip. How are things today, Carter?
Yes, sir. Live from LA. I'm doing good. I just got back from WrestleDream. It was an amazing event. I had so much fun. The city of Seattle was beautiful. People were very nice. And it was just great honoring Antonio Inoki. Honestly, as a fan of New Japan and strong style wrestling, it was just a beautiful display. It was, I think it's an extremely exciting time to be in the industry, and I couldn't be happier to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Although
we do have to.
It's terrible. Neither of us are in LA. Neither.
No, but I do.
We're in Orange County. Both in Orange County.
Well, no, I know that, but you're near enough LA. I thought Carter was actually in LA. I would have said Orange County if you were both there.
I'm sorry, I had to get on you. This is just it's too much geography early in the show.
Well, talking about mistakes. That's not the biggest mistake of the week, is it? Because as Carter, as you mentioned, you went to that show, and you missed the debut of Adam Copeland. You went to the show, a show where obviously we don't acknowledge the dirt sheet on this show at all. But let's be real. It was all over the internet that a certain Adam Copeland was debuting. You went to the show. You paid your hard-earned money to get there. You turn up, and you miss the main attraction. You miss the debut of Adam Copeland. And coming from somebody who has historically missed returns such as Johnny Gargano and a few others too, Candice LeRae and even Drew McIntyre live as well, right? All those ones I missed. At least it wasn't at the end of the show when they were obviously going to happen. But I hear Carty Cornette isn't too happy about that.
I could not be more disappointed in my half brother over there. My God, you got the hotel, you got flights, you got food, you're spending all the money in the world, and you don't come to see a guy from the biggest promotion. I mean, I think this guy just likes the Hartley boys just a little too much out of Rosita. I mean, it's just he loves all that Kenny Omega, Twinkle Toes, all that flippy stuff, and he missed the return of a real wrestler. So unbelievable that he walked out of the building. Thank you, Savannah, for pointing it out to the rest of the team, because he would have just walked off that one. He deserves to be called out. He doesn't know what real wrestling is. I do. End of story. That's all that happened here.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, Savannah Gal was also there, and she did get to see the Edge return. But last but certainly not least, we have the head of opinions from Philadelphia. I'm not wrong on that one. Anthony Ricciardi. How are you today, Anthony?
You actually got one, Ben. Congrats. I'm doing well. I'm doing all right. It's rare that I do a preview for Dynamite. Usually, I'm doing the post Dynamite, which I will do tomorrow. But we got a lot to talk about. A lot happened, so I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, it's gonna be a great show. And we're 5 minutes into the show and a war's happening in the comments. Anthony Manzano is saying, I understand this is going to offend AEW fans, but AEW is an independent mainstream wrestling company that caters only to hardcore fans and refuses to bring in casual viewers. Well, I mean, AEW, they do go directly into the hardcore fan base. That is no doubt about it. That is absolutely true.
And they just hired Adam Copeland. Huh?
No, come on, that at times they do cater to that audience, but you can't.
It was just such an extreme statement.
You can't be. The thing is, you can't be a mainstream wrestling company that refuses to bring in it. Both of those, you can't be a mainstream wrestling company with no casual viewers because it can't be mainstream then. That's my debate with that statement, but we'll get into AEW in just a little bit, Anthony. Firstly, let's talk about Dirty Dominic Mysterio because he has won back the NXT North American Championship off Trick Williams. And I'm not happy about it. I'm really, really not. I was watching wrestling off the air right after NXT No Mercy on the Wrestling Republic YouTube channel the other day. And an idea was pitched about, Trick Williams versus Carmelo Hayes for the NXT North American Championship. The title which Carmelo Hayes made it feel prestigious. And now you're going to just take the belt off him a couple of days later. It's absolutely ludicrous. They had that match. They had that feud written for them. It was perfect. And now just for Dominic Mysterio to win it for a main roster storyline, this actually frustrated me. You should not have taken the title off Dom. You should not have given it to Trick if there wasn't going to be like a proper plan there. You should not have done how they ended NXT No Mercy with Amelo and Trick Williams, kind of having a little bit of a moment with that championship. That was blatantly setting up a match. I don't know if plans changed or if that always was the plan. If it was always the plan, it's Robert's plan. And if plans did change, they shouldn't have changed. I'm not happy about it whatsoever. I'm fine with Dominic Mysterio. I've said it time and time again that I do think that he's got so much potential. There's nothing on him, but the booking is absolutely awful. Of course, last night, wrestling off the air, hosted by Clark, with Shard and Drizzy. You guys spoke about this. Shard wasn't too happy about it. The Instagram comments have come at him for not being too happy about it. Drizzy presented possibly doing Carmelo Hayes versus Trick Williams for the main championship. And sure, that would be cool, but then Dragunov would be a transitional champion, which isn't good either. So I'm not happy about this. Clark, you're the NXT guy on this panel. Give us some insight on whatever this was.
Yeah, it's funny, like Shad took the brunt of it in the comments, but really all three of us were in agreement on this. Like Trick Williams deserved a longer reign. I understand that Dom's hot, but don't have him lose the belt in the first place. It devalues, in my eyes, the title in a sense, and it just hurts. I thought Trick truly deserved it when he won. I was excited about that result, and it just sucked the air out of it, and not in a positive way, not like heel heat Dom. It was just, it took everyone cheating around the ring, right? It took like 6 different interferences, but Dom got the win, and it is what it is. I think Trick Williams deserves better, significantly better.
Yeah, no, I think it's hard to argue it. It really, really is. Because, I mean, you guys were really, you've been hyping Trick up on NXT off the air, for ages. You've been saying how much he deserves this. And let's be real, the crowd thought he deserved it too. But Anthony, I'll go to you next. What did you think about this one? Did you think, are we overreacting, or does Trick deserve better?
I'm not a fan of hot shot booking. And to me, it made no sense why you would have him win the title just to lose it a couple days later. I kind of wonder, was that always the plan? Because originally it was supposed to be Mustafa in this. Was Mustafa going to lose it in like 2 days? Or did you do that because it's Trick and you're going to something else? Are you going to build this to a feud with Trick and Carmelo, which will eventually lead to Carmelo's main roster appearance when he does the job for Trick? I don't understand the logic here. I would have just left the the belt on Dom, and you could have still had Trick blame Carmelo or do something to that effect. I don't know where they're going with this. And I don't think anybody else really does either. And I'm sure there'll be people in the comments going, "We don't need to know, just watch it." Things need to make sense too. You don't just do it just to do it. So if they have a plan, great. I am more than happy to be wrong about this, that this was a mistake. But my gut tells me this was just hotshot booking.
That is what it feels like, Anthony. It really, really is. But we got another Anthony in the comments, Anthony Manzano, who's saying they screw Trick Williams just to finish the storyline and not give Williams a full title reign, just because you want to finish the story with Dominic and Dragon Lee. I mean, if Dragon Lee's involved, at least that's something, I guess, but it still doesn't make much sense. I don't think even that's where they're going. I think the storyline is Rhea, threatening to split from Dom. And Bobby Petito is in agreement with us. Trick Williams deserves a longer title reign. Absolutely. Now, Carter, what did you think about this one? What do you think about Dirty Dominic Mysterio winning back the title?
I think the one thing that this whole situation does well, just sort of as I'll say it, I'm an MMA guy, is it makes you hate the Judgment Day. I mean, it builds heat for them like no other. And I know at the end they said, so it does that really well. That being said, it does feel like this was just kind of Mustafa Ali was just replaced. It just feels like just speed booking, but in a bad way. Yeah, Trick Williams is a hell of a talent. I mean, they definitely should have built him up a lot more. And it's frustrating to see. Personally, I will side with Clark, and I'll make a controversial comment while we're having wars in this section. Judgment Day should maybe be broken up eventually. I think Finn Balor would be a great singles wrestler, but yeah, it just it made you hate the heels, which was good. But outside of that, everything else was just kind of nonsensical. And to me, what the shame in that is that the booking leading up to this, I thought was great. I thought the women's matches were super fun. Just the booking around it. I think NXT's on fire. What they're doing with Becky's great. It's just kind of disappointing to see this happen with their main event, but I think they'll recover. They have, big competition coming up next week with AEW, so it'll be fine. But yeah, it's just disappointing, that they're not doing better writing with all this talent in the ring.
Yeah, and it's so weird as well because NXT, I mean, Clark, obviously you review it weekly. Their stories do tend to make a lot of sense. They tend to be maybe like a lot more logical than the main roster ones a lot of the time.
I would agree with that. I do think that's a little bit more recent since they've moved away. NXT 2.0 had a lot of stories that make a ton of sense. And there are still, I think, some of lower card things in NXT that are a little bit throwing stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. I do agree with you that, yeah, there does seem to be a lot more, connection storyline wise. Like they do a better job also of making sure not to just overlook the past.
Yeah.
Right. They'll bring up past rivalries. They'll go back further than I would say the main roster does. The main roster has, to me, a bit short-term memory problems.
You're right.
Like they or I guess long-term memory. They're not going to bring up something very often unless it's subtle from a long time. Even it took a long time during the Finn Balor Seth feud for the shoulder and that stuff to really be thrown into the mix, right? That wasn't the initial story. It was kind of just Judgment Day and Seth. And then they got to the shoulder injury and the Universal title along the way. But even then it took them time to get there. This one was just funky to me. The whole booking of it was just, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I give NXT a break sometimes. You said, they throw stuff at the wall at times and just see if it sticks. They're the developmental brand, so they have, they have that luxury.
No question.
This just felt like, I don't feel like that was that. I feel like this was either it was a last minute plan or it was just a bad plan. I don't understand how they could have thought this would work.
I feel like this would have made a lot more sense on next week's show, which we'll talk about later. Yeah. But that if you're gonna do it, maybe on have Trick defend it against someone else. Maybe Dom interferes, but Trick still gets to win, and then do it on next week's show. I don't think I'm as upset. Even though it's only 1 week, if you are going to do it and it's necessary, I get why next week, because then you have the Judgment Day on that stacked show.
The only thing I could think, and this is just off the wall, I wonder if the main roster booking people forced their hand because they weren't planning on that, but because they threw in, if you don't win, you're out of the Judgment Day.
Yeah, I think that's
Sean's
what happened.
hand kind of got forced of going, well, I got to switch the belt back because they're not breaking them up. That might be the
That's
only
what
thing
I
I
fear.
can think of.
Yeah.
And that's awful. If that's the case, then that is awful on whoever wrote that segment on Monday Night Raw. I mean, that is fire-worthy stuff. Like, you can't, because that's hurt the momentum of Trick Williams at that point. And as a writer, you shouldn't be doing that if, there's not a plan to do a big redemption arc. But this is the start of it. It makes no sense. But anyway, let's talk about next week's NXT. Let's talk about the Tuesday Night Wars, because next week AEW Dynamite will feature the in-ring debut of Adam Edge Copeland, and it will be going up against NXT. It will be on Tuesday night because it got moved because of the baseball. 1 week only, not a permanent thing by any means. 1 week only, but obviously WWE, TKO, Endeavor, Ari Emanuel got the call. They were told about this. They said, AEW, they're coming to your day, your time slot, and they're going head-to-head with you. So, they rightfully so said, well, we cannot be having that, can we? And they've stacked this show up. John Cena is going to be in the corner of Carmelo Hayes. Paul Heyman in the corner of Braun Breaker. Oscar will be in action, and Cody Rhodes will be making a major announcement. Listen, everybody's talking about that now. A lot of the main roster viewers, a lot of the main roster audience will be going and watching next week's NXT when they don't usually watch it. It is very ballsy in the way of, if you end up losing in AEW, you get more viewers. That's a little embarrassing now, isn't it? They come onto your night, you've stacked up the card and you lose. That's not great. They probably won't, but because, John Cena, it's difficult to outdraw him. But listen, a lot of people are saying, I mean, me and David Sheldon, shout out David, we had this debate earlier on about this, and he kind of said that WWE seem a bit desperate by putting, all of this out. He wasn't saying that in a bad way, but he was just saying it kind of seemed like, they were being a bit desperate about the situation. But I don't think that's the case, because they've come onto your night, your time slot. And listen, the stock right now, the TKO stock, it's very volatile. It's up and down, up and down, up and down, more down than up. Recently, it's not been, I don't know if it's the way which they expected it to be this early. Listen, you don't know how this could affect something like that. You never do, right? But to somebody, an investor who isn't, they don't know too much about what NXT is. They don't know it's a developmental brand. They just see something where AEW ranks number 1 on Tuesday ahead of WWE. That would not be good for the company one bit, right? And that is why WWE had to do this. I don't think it's desperate, but by any means, they came onto your night. You're not going onto their night to try and kill them. They came onto, your night, just saying, hang on, you're not taking our viewers. Who do you think we are? We are the big company here. We're the $1 billion company. That ain't happening. And I think that's fair enough. But listen, both shows I think are going to be stacked. And I think for wrestling fans, I think it's going to be a really, really enjoyable night of action. But Clark, give me your thoughts on this situation. Do you think WWE have kind of been a bit too extreme with this?
Well, I mean, I jokingly said last night, tonight we spell petty WWE. But I do enjoy it. I think it's hilarious. It goes against some things that have been said in the past about not caring or not watching or not paying attention. Like, it's not a coincidence. Let's be honest with ourselves. And let's also not forget who chased them to that time slot and that day of the week, right? I mean, it was the Wednesday Night Wars were a thing. And say what you will, WWE went to Tuesday. And I don't know necessarily that it's all because it was of the head-to-head thing, but they were watching. It was a real thing. It mattered, and it still does. And that's the major announcement was the most telling of the bunch to me besides John Cena. That cracked me up. That was a direct shot. That was as direct shot as any. And the irony of it being the dude that hit the chair with a sledgehammer is not lost on me. That's comedy. And I'm excited to see what he has to say. I'm going to watch both shows. I'm going to cover NXT off the air for sure. And I'm going to watch Dynamite. No doubt. I'm a wrestling fan and I'm going to enjoy both. I think Edge said it best in his interview after Wrestle Dream. Take a walk and take a deep breath. If you can't appreciate both, you don't have to love both. You can have a preference, but it's better for the wrestling business to have both. And I enjoy both products and I can't wait to see what they do.
Well said. Well said indeed. Gonna be a great night of wrestling. I'm looking forward to seeing Adam Copeland in that ring for the first time against Luchasaurus. It's gonna be a very fun match. That is for sure. Same with NXT. Stacked card. Will be exciting to see, what happens there, what the Cody announcement is. But I don't think WWE are being petty here. You also make a good point that obviously, let's be real about it, right? You can claim, there wasn't a war. AEW won the Wednesday Night War, right? But under Endeavor now, even if WWE were telling the truth and they weren't really watching before, which I don't think was the case, but even if that was the truth, it's under new ownership, right? And Endeavor, they don't like they don't like competition to get near them. Competition can exist, but if it gets too close, that's when they snap, and that's when it's no kill mode. And AEW have stepped on their toes, and I don't think they've realized how big their feet are. But now let's move on and let's talk about tonight's AEW Dynamite. At the 4th anniversary, I'm shocked that it's been on that long. But, 4 great years of TV, every Wednesday been very enjoyable. And hopefully tonight will be no different. Now, a few years ago, we had Rey Fenix versus Nick Jackson, and it was a banger of a bout on AEW Dynamite. Well, tonight they're running it back for the AEW International Championship, and I am pumped up about this one. Carter, obviously, you think the Young Bucks are the greatest tag team to have ever existed until FTR beat them, in which case it's FTR, and now they're running that back again. It'll probably switch again, I'm guessing. But what do you think heading into this match?
The greatest tag team of all time. Excalibur's the greatest announcer of all. These guys are on fire. But no, it's gonna be fantastic. I mean, don't tell Mr. Carnett about this match, but me personally, I'm extremely excited. I've used the term spot fest before negatively, but I think in regards to this case, it's going to be fantastic. I mean, Matt and Nick Jackson fly all over the ring, and them versus the Lucha Bros. I'll say I would want to see that match 1,000 times. I don't care how many times it's happened. I want to see it over and over and over again. It's just fun to watch those 4 guys in the ring. So I think it's just going to be exciting. I'm curious what they're going to do with the championship, if they're going to have it move around. I'm guessing that they're going to have Rey Fenix go on a little run because, I mean, why not just build them up, while Penta's kind of recovering. But I mean, it's just going to be great. The Fatal 4-Way match in person was just fantastic. If I could defend myself against my half brother for a second, I saw so much good wrestling. I was at capacity. I got to leave. That's too much good wrestling. So that's why I left. But it's good. It's going to be a spot fest. I mean that in the best way possible. Great stuff. Rosita style. Eat your heart out, Cardi Carnett.
I mean, I'm actually going to agree with your half brother on that match. I wasn't a fan of it, but I'm never a fan of Fatal 4 tag matches. So, I mean, I'm never going to like any of them. I didn't like the one at NXT or the one on AEW. But I do agree with you. Tonight it's going to be a banger of a match. Nick Jackson versus Phoenix. It's going to be very, very fun.
Can you handle triple threat tag team matches? Where do you draw the line?
I actually can. Triple threat tag team matches I can handle if they're done right.
The line is at 3.
Yes, but only 3. Usually only 3. If it's either a tornado, so they're all in at the same time, or there's 3 in. So they just tag the partner in. Okay, I don't like it when there's 2 in from the 3 teams.
What about triple threat trios?
Nah, too many people. The line's drawn.
Okay.
Line's drawn there.
8-man tag, is that where you max it out to?
No, I don't like 8-man tags either. Trios is
no.
where on
Trios
capacity.
is where you max it out.
Trios is where
I'm learning. Sorry. I was
5v5
curious.
Survivor Series. I'll give that a pass. Apart from that,
It's good to know. I will not send you any 8-man tag clips. Noted.
Oh gosh, but now let's we got a comment. Let's quickly see this. Number one Superflies in the comments, and number one Superflies saying prediction for Tony Khan's end of year announcement. Wait a second, is he doing an announcement tonight?
I think he's announcing another announcement, maybe.
What? Oh no. Either AEW's pay-per-views would go HBO Max, something which I think could well happen, or an Impact AEW crossover. I do not believe that. Or no longer will be making any more announcements. I didn't realize he was doing an announcement tonight. I don't. Is that official? I'm not sure. But
I'm going with D, none of the above.
yeah. If it is anything, I guess streaming would make sense. But HBO have told people that for the time being isn't happening. So I don't think that will be the case. Otherwise, I think they would have announced it at the launch of the sports section a couple of weeks ago if it is so close to right now. But anyway, let's move on and let's talk about Takeshita and Sammy Guevara teaming up to take on Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. Who would have thought, we ever see Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho teaming up, and now we've seen it twice in 1 week. I think this match is going to be fun, hopefully better than the 6-man tag match they had at Wrestle Dream, which I thought, to be honest, kind of under-delivered considering the fantastic 6 men who were in that ring. But I'm looking forward to seeing how this, the story advances. Will this be yet another loss for Kenny Omega? What's next? I don't know, but I hope they go somewhere from here and move it on, because this story is starting to feel a little samey, other than the introduction of Sammy Guevara. But Anthony, give me your thoughts on this one.
I think these are two different traditional things that are conflicting. Traditionally, the baby faces that are seeking revenge come out on top. So obviously Omega and Jericho are out for revenge against Don. But on the other hand, it's also a situation where they're trying to get Takeshita and Sammy to that next level. And you do that traditionally by having them beat veterans. And Jericho's a GOAT. Kenny is one of the top people in the business today. It would make sense for Takeshita and Sammy to pick up the win here. I don't know what their overall plan is because, again, like I said, it traditionally conflicts. Because traditionally, Kenny and Jericho would come out on top when this is all said and done. But they could do it in a way that still gets Takeshita and Sammy over. I think one of the most iconic matches where that's happened was Austin and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13. Technically, Bret won that match. But what people remember is the way Austin lost. He never tapped out. It took Austin to another level. I think a lot of people forget Austin didn't win. But at the end of the day, he was a much bigger star. I don't know if Takeshita and Sammy will even come close to Kenny or Jericho's careers. Personally, I don't think either one will. But if you want to try to get them to a next level, they have to win this feud.
Yeah. No, I mean, they absolutely do need to win this feud to take this faction alone just to the next level in the short term. But yeah, long term, we'll have to wait and see. I do hope that, I think Sammy Guevara's got fantastic potential, and I think Takeshita, I mean, he's young too. Takeshita has done so much in this industry in, such a short time. I mean, obviously he wasn't in New Japan, but around Japan, especially the independent circuit, DDT, he conquered that at a really young age, and now he's come to America, and I think he's starting very slowly to do the same. So I don't think we should underestimate him just yet, because I think he's only like 26, and when you look at everything on his resume, it is crazy. It truly, truly is. But can he reach that next level? We will have to wait to find out. I'm excited for that though. But now let's talk about the main attraction. The rated R superstar, the man formerly known as Edge, Adam Copeland, and how his AEW run should begin. Obviously, tonight he will be making a promo. On Collision this week, he will be involved as well. They've announced both of those, and next Tuesday, during the Tuesday Night War on AEW Dynamite, he will be competing against Luchasaurus. So we know it's going to involve Luchasaurus, Christian Cage, or whatever. But specifically, Anthony, I know, you're very much a fantasy booking guy. You're very much somebody who likes different long-term and stuff. Short and potentially long-term, how do you think Adam Copeland's AEW run should go?
The thing is, and I wrote something weeks ago, I didn't think Edge was going to make the jump. But as a wrestling fan, this excites me because there are so many people that he's never wrestled or he's never had any interaction with. When Edge went down with his neck injury years ago, no one thought him and Sting would cross paths. Like these different things, there's so many different options. Christian is obviously the smart choice to start this with. I mean, that's the one everyone wants, some interaction with the two of them. It's probably going to go back to them whenever Edge decides to end his career. But this is the smart choice to start with. For me personally, the one match that I want to see, I know technically he's New Japan, but who knows how long that's going to be. Ospreay's the guy. For me, Ospreay and Edge, and he will always be Edge to me. I don't care what they call him. For 25 years, he's been Edge. I'm always going to call him Edge. Sorry. So to me, that excites me. Him and Omega will probably cross paths at some point. There's so many people that he is going to cross paths with that he had history with. Jericho's probably a possibility. I think there's a very good chance. The only thing that concerns me with Edge's AEW run is the fact that he's going to work a full-time schedule. That's the only thing that concerns me because of his history of his neck. I don't know how safe that's going to be. I don't think he's going to wrestle every week. I think he'll appear, he'll do promos. If he's wrestling every week, I don't know how long that's going to hold up. But it very much excites me to see where they're going with this and how long it's going to be. Because the one thing is, they didn't say he signed a multi-year deal. So I'm thinking he signed maybe a year with mutual options because they specifically did not say it was a multi-year deal unless I missed it.
No, I don't think they did. I think they literally just announced him as AEW's latest signing.
They said full-time. I think full-time is what they pushed. Yes. So I'm thinking, my guess, and this is strictly a guess, he signed for a guaranteed year and then probably mutual options to see how his body's holding up. That's my guess.
That's a very solid thinking, actually, because a full-time schedule at his age with his injury history, that would be difficult. Hopefully he can pull it off because, I think we're all in agreement here that we want to see Adam Copeland. We want to see as much Adam Copeland as we can, but it's, how much can we see? That is the question. You mentioned, Ospreay versus Edge. Well, that would be lovely. You also mentioned versus Omega. I love that too. Bobby Petito is saying Edge versus Swerve. I'd be down for that. And Edge versus Jay White. That would be a slower paced match, Edge versus Jay White, but one which I think could actually be a banger as long as it had a strong crowd.
Ben, I could see a buckshot lariat into a spear. I could see that.
That'd be sick. Hangman Page versus Adam Copeland. The Battle of the Adams. Why not do Adam Cole versus Edge as well? That would be not true or threat. Adam versus Adam versus Adam. But all of those matches would be absolutely fascinating. Anthony Manzano believes that Will Ospreay will be going to WWE. Oh, and number one I said what I just joked about.
Same one.
I didn't even see your comments.
The Battle of the Adams.
The Battle of the Adams. Adam Copeland, Adam Cole, and Adam Page. Yes. Numero one Superfly, great minds think alike. But what about you, Carter? Or Carty Connett, perhaps? Which one are we going to see? What do you think about Adam Copeland's AEW, and how do you think it's going to go down?
Well, I think we've got a lot of great suggestions going around. I love what Anthony said, and I love what the commenters are saying. Those are exactly what he should be doing. I think he has a one-way ticket to Mr. the Dino. I'm not going to say the second part of his name because I do want to keep us monetized. But I can tell you who he shouldn't wrestle, and that is Mr. Moxley the Plumber. The last thing we need is Adam Copeland running around with all that blood in the ring. We don't need that. We don't need a triple threat ladder match. We need that man on the ground. But no, a little more seriously, I have Danielson, Omega, Osprey. Those are all great options. I mean, it's exciting, but I do think he's got to watch his work rate. AEW is a place where, some more fun matches might happen, or as my half brother might say, outlaw mud show. But no, it's super exciting. I mean, he's got his eyes on the guys from New Japan. I don't know if Osprey is going to WWE though. That's kind of a wild take, but no, I think he's got his eyes on the New Japan guys, which bodes well. I would not want to see him in a coffin match. Actually, him and Moxley the Plumber, I would be in favor of, but my half brother is very against it. So, yeah, I think it'd be a great match. Honestly, Moxley's a great grappler. Winning NAGA tournaments and stuff.
Oh gosh, I don't actually think Edge and Moxley have ever been in the same ring together. If I'm not mistaken,
I think they missed each other just by a little bit.
No, because Edge was retired at that point.
Yeah, there's a few names which he missed completely. I mean, Samoa Joe's the one he says he can't believe he missed and he wants to see happen. He mentioned Joe's name in literally every interview he's done. But that'll be absolutely fascinating. But Clark, what about you? How do you think Adam Copeland's AEW run should begin?
I love the idea of Christian out of the gates. It makes sense for comfortability. It's a great matchup. It's fun. We know about their real life friendship, but start with Luchasaurus, work our way to a big payoff between those two, and then from there, the one that I really want to see is, I mean, he referenced them on WWE television within the last year. His friendship with FTR. They're the guys that helped get him back into shape to make his return. And I'd love to see a rated FTR trios run, whether it be for those ROH trios titles or the AEW trios titles, depending who's holding them. Dream matchups when it comes to that stuff. I mean, we talked about how great Hangman Page would be. How about Hangman Page and the Bucks against FTR and Edge or Adam Copeland? That one is exciting in my eyes. I'd love to see something like that. And then after that, if there's still enough time, given health and given some good luck, I'd love to see one final run where he and Christian reunite. And we get some 5-second poses and Christian Cage and Edge maybe win the belts one last time, the tag belts. That would be pretty cool way to go out, I think. And that would be enough for me. And I make this all totally worth it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that does... that does get me excited, of course. Christian. I mean, even Edge has said, right, Adam Copeland has said, since he's joined AEW, he's already stated that the perfect way for him to end his career would be with Christian Cage. Yeah. I bet your half brother Carter Crsip isn't too happy about him breaking kayfabe and saying that. But I mean, it is true, isn't it? When your careers have intertwined so closely as theirs have, to finish it together. That is just a nice, a nice little move to do. And I mean, Anthony, you mentioned it in the article you wrote that you thought that could happen maybe at WrestleMania in Philadelphia with Christian jumping.
I thought Christian was going to jump. I mean, this is a really unique experience for both Edge, Christian, and Bryan Danielson's another one, where their careers were forced away from them. They did not get to write the ending to their story. And they're getting a chance now to rewrite it. So as wrestling fans, it doesn't matter whether you watch WWE or AEW, you should be happy for them to be able to end it the way they want to. They earned that. The sacrifices they've made over the years. The only people complaining about this are marks. This tribalism stuff doesn't work. As a wrestling fan, you should be happy. This is exciting times to be a fan because there's so much content. WWE, AEW, Impact, New Japan, Ring of Honor. There's so much wrestling content and so easily accessible now. This is the closest I think we've gotten since, the late 90s, the Attitude Era, where there was the big three. This is the closest I feel that we've gotten to that point where there's a buzz there. And I mean, I don't think you're ever going to recapture what you had then. It's a different time. Streaming, smartphones, people don't have no attention anymore. But as a whole, this is an exciting time. As a fan, I'm very excited to be watching it. I'm very excited to be covering it with you guys. So this is a good time.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, if I post that to the Instagram, which I think we got to do, if anybody comments hate on that,
Yeah.
I think no matter what we post, we're gonna get just murdered, aren't we? But no, I mean,
We'll
you
live.
hit the nail on the head. Yeah, we will live. You hit the nail on the head there, Anthony. Absolutely. You know, we just gotta be happy for them. Like, it's not like this is the thing. If you're a WWE fan, even if you're not like maybe you have an issue of something on the AEW product, you don't need to watch like all of the AEW shows. You just have to watch the parts which, feature your favorite wrestlers if you want to. Like, it's not like you can like one or the other or have to like all of both. Like, you can just choose. You can pick and choose, It's like a pick and mix. And I mean, obviously we might get to a point where maybe there's too much wrestling for the demand or something, but that's a question for another day. At the minute, the tribalism and all of this, it's bad. I mean, I will say this. It actually, people saying how bad it is for the business, I actually think that maybe I'm putting my conspiracy hat on a little bit here. I do think at times both companies play into it slightly because it gets their engagement significantly higher on something like Twitter or something like Instagram comments, right? And then it gets shared around a lot more and more people know about their company.
But Ben, Paul Heyman would bash WCW and WWF. Meanwhile, secretly, he was taking money from Vince. So,
exactly.
I mean, it happens. I mean, there is a buzz there. There's a reason why AEW name drops WWE constantly, because it creates a buzz. It's a business. They're competing for the same dollars at the end of the day. So, I mean, that's the whole thing. I do find it interesting, both Danielson and Adam Copeland, both when they jumped, released like a very nice statement thanking WWE and saying to the fans, listen, I understand if you never want to watch me again because you view me as a traitor. But if you were a fan of me and you want to continue on the journey, let's have some fun. The fact that they both had to make those PR statements because they know how some of this audience goes, traitor, it's kind of ridiculous that they have to do that.
I'm not going to say the names of these two Twitter accounts. There's two very popular Twitter accounts in the wrestling space, right? And they're just fan accounts. They're not like journalists or anything like that. They're just fan accounts, so they're quite popular. And somebody put together one AEW fan saying a year ago that, Edge can't draw a dime, he's one of the most disappointing return wrestlers in a long, long time. And then you saw his tweet the couple of days ago saying, this is the biggest this is the biggest jump in wrestling history. And then there was another one from the WWE side of things as well, saying, how great Edge is, and now saying, he's thrown his career away in AEW. And it's like, please tell me you're doing this for engagement. Please don't tell me you actually think this in your head. Because, I mean, neither one I respect, but...
Did you see all the pictures of the Jets fans that tweeted negative stuff about Aaron Rodgers and, like, especially through, like, the pandemic and whatnot, and then, like, pictures of them at the opening night wearing Rodgers jerseys, like, when he signs with the Jets? It's like, you do see it in sports in general, too. Yeah. It happens. It's one of those things that's just funny. The irony, right? When they don't play for your team.
But you shouldn't have a team when it comes to promotion. Like, this is what I don't get.
That's where I'm in agreement. Like, I understand preferences, but it's like if you have a favorite wrestler and he goes to a different promotion, just all of a sudden being like, I guess I got to pick a new guy, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, you can watch both. There's plenty of time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think maybe because how many wrestling fans are also sports fans, maybe the fact that you're so close to like a club, maybe that's where it comes from.
A little. I do also think a lot of it is like, and I think a lot of it coming from the WWE side is people that grew up strictly on WWE, especially like post WCW, right? Like they never saw the WWE when it was just only WWE or Indies. And there's this like defensiveness where it's like, nobody, don't mess with our guys. Like, no. And then I think that, I don't want to say caused, but plays into the other side where you have the hardcore indie fan or the fan that, is just generally going to watch all wrestling, right?
I will say this, in fairness, it did start from the AEW side when things first
kicked
off.
I don't even want to go into like chicken or egg, who started it, right? I think both sides, there's been a rivalry since the beginning. I mean, when they started saying Wednesday Night Wars, it was pretty apparent then. You know what I mean?
Which one are you siding with?
But my point would be, I think then from the AEW side, there's pushback because I do think there's a section of the AEW fan base, and I think that's where a lot of the AEW side of the tribalism comes from, that was really disappointed about WWE going to TVPG. And taking away blood and taking away the more mature type storylines. And they saw AEW and jumped all over that. And I think it's those two sections of the audience that show the tribalism more than your standard fan that does watch both.
And there is fun in the whole WWE's the evil empire. To root for the rebel. There's a certain point to that, like the John Cena sucks chance.
Everybody wants to root for the underdog.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, on that note, we are going to have to finish the show. We're being told we're done. We're done on the time. But thank you so much. We've had some great conversations here today. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, a cheeky 5 stars. It's always very, very helpful. Thank you to Clark. Thank you to Anthony. And thank you to Carter for joining me here today. We will be back tomorrow. Later time, 11 p.m. UK time, 6 p.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. Pacific for Throwback Thursday. Clark and Anthony will be here for that. We will see you guys, and Shah too, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your night.